This is Freedom Investor Radio, and I'm John Pearl. It hit me like a freight train when I realized there was a better way. When I discovered that I could take my future into my own hands. When I realized I could invest my way to freedom. This is what I'm working towards. In each episode of Freedom Investor Radio, we will explore the tactics and strategies used by the top real estate investors and entrepreneurs in the nation. We will learn how you can start investing your way to freedom and take control of your life. Thanks so much for tuning in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Freedom Investor Radio. I'm your host, John Pearl, and today I am joined by Dr. Erin Hudson of Quattro Capital Group. Welcome to the show today, Erin.
Thank you so much, John. It's such a pleasure to be here with you, and I hope to drop some great nuggets today for your listeners.
Absolutely. So when I first heard Dr. Hudson speak, it was on a podcast. I believe it was on the Michael Blanc podcast. And I was very intrigued by what she was talking about. She's done a lot of very interesting things in life, and I'm excited to get into some of that today. And then about a year ago in Orlando, she was at a conference where I was at. She was up on stage speaking, didn't get a chance to meet her in person. But then this past weekend in Miami, we were able to connect in person. So I had to invite her onto the podcast. Here we are. So Dr. Hudson, why don't you, I'm going to pass it over to you, and why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at now and kind of give us the story about how you got there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I will say it is an absolute pleasure to be on here with you. It was great meeting you this past weekend. You know, sometimes you meet people and their energy, you're just drawn to it. And you do exactly that, John. So it was an absolute pleasure meeting you this past weekend. And thanks for having me. So your question was?
Yeah, just looking for the origin story, where you're at now and how you got there.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So it's pretty wild to think, like, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, pinch me. Am I really where I am today? Where I thought never would be possible. So origin story, basically, I grew up in a home, and we'll keep it somewhat short because I could go on, but grew up in a home where my parents worked 9-to-5 jobs. They were busy building somebody else's dream. And I remember at a very, very young age thinking, man, this seems so ass backwards. That is not the way I want to live my life. And so, listen, I think we all have this entrepreneurial spirit that lives inside of us. It's just different degrees that everybody chooses to walk out that entrepreneurial side. And so with that being said, I knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I ended up becoming a chiropractor and had 2 great flourishing offices in Southern California. I had 30 headaches. Wait, hold on. I mean team members. And at the time, 5 kids of my own. So with that being said, I loved it. But it's really because I love people. And when you can help people feel better, get well, maybe they walk into my practice not feeling so great, and they walk out hopping and skipping and loving me because I'm helping them to feel better, right? So with that being said, the one thing that I hated was the fact that every dollar that came into my practice, 50% was going to Uncle Sam. And when I found out from another patient of mine about something called mailbox money, I was totally intrigued with what mailbox money was when he shared with me. I was so on fire that I could not stop thinking about it and researching real estate. And so with that being said, fast forward, I'm kind of the chick that jumps in all the way. I'm not a 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of girl. And I too started to acquire real estate. That story is for another day because it's very long, lengthy, and great, but not for today. So with that being said, within 2 years, I acquired 26 rental properties. And then I found out about something called multifamily. And when you have 26 rental properties, there's a lot of this, right? Tenant moves out, got to get it refreshed, and then a new one moves in. I found out about multifamily, and I really did not want to go to this event because I thought it was just for the billionaires. And let me tell you, was I so wrong? It's meant for anyone and everyone. If you don't have money, there's still ways to get in. And if you have money, you just hit the jackpot for an array of reasons. So with that being said, I found a way to go from paying Uncle Sam, from paying him 50 cents of every dollar to paying literally very close to zero in taxes. And so I feel like I've won the game.
So true. So true.
Yeah, for sure. So today, co-founder of Quattro Capital. Fast forward 3 years later, it's been 3 years. It seems like it's flown by. 29 properties that we currently have purchased. Assets under management are roughly around $160 million. And I'm living the high life for sure.
So many awesome things there that you mentioned that I want to dive into over the course of the discussion. But one of the things I'm so intrigued by is the Quattro team. And so I've talked to Maurice. Maurice is such a stud. Love the guy. And I love the story of how you became partners and how you met each other. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about kind of how Quattro got together?
Oh my gosh, I could go on so many tangents with this one, John. Well, here's the thing. I'll try and sum that part up very quickly, but let's just say the first property that I purchased in my multifamily career was not such a favorable, great experience. And the reason why is I did not have great partners. And to make a long story short, that partnership really put a bad taste in my mouth, to the point where I was like, if this is what partnerships are about, I'm out. I think I'm going to go back to private practice. And, the Lord is a good God, and he does crazy, radical things. Believers or not believers, whatever you want to call it. But fast forward, I end up going to a multifamily event, and they were giving out awards for those individuals that had closed on a property within the first 12 months of the mentorship program. And with that being said, the MC had said, Erin, how did you celebrate the closing of this big property being your first one? And you raised $2 million on your first deal. Well, I will tell you, I said the way I celebrated was our family built the 13th home for the single moms living in the trash dump in Nicaragua. And at the time, my son was there in Nicaragua with my husband, and they were there building homes for the single moms. We had already built 12. And so I said, we built our 13th home. And I started to just get weepy. And I'm here in front of 1,000 people, and I have tears coming down my face. And I got this stirring in my belly. I started to get this emotion that overcame me that's not dismissible. And I said, as a matter of fact, I would love to build 2 more homes if I can get 2 people to match me. And I had already shared that they were $5,500 cinder block homes. And it felt like there was silence, John, for 10 minutes. But truthfully speaking, there was a gentleman that stood to the back of his feet, and he said, I'm in for $5,500. And a woman stood and rose to her feet in the front row and said, I'm in for $5,500. And I kid you not, within 10 minutes, we had raised $55,000 for the single moms living in a trash dump. So it was a little over the top. I got super emotional. And let's just say, again, fast forward 6 months later, the gentleman that had rose to his feet at that conference is my partner today, Maurice Philogene. The woman that stood in the front who rose to her feet is my partner today, Kim Wenland. And so it is powerful when you're able to link arms with individuals that are on the same mission as you to do good for other people. And I remember thinking, John, that night, as I tucked myself into bed at that conference, why in the world, Lord, did you put that on my heart to speak up and step out? And he goes very clearly, as day as night, he says, those that rise to the occasion to pour in such a great a cause as this are exactly who I want you to link arms with. And so I am so beyond pleased, grateful, and blessed for the failure that I had, because it put me in a position, in a place for me to link arms with the most incredible individuals one could ever dream of. So it's a long story, but it's a great story. And I kid you not, that's why we've had such incredible success in 3 years, because our hearts truly are for other people to win.
Yeah, those failures that happen to us often turn out to be the biggest blessings in disguise. And I always love hearing that story. So getting back to talking about the team, and multifamily investing is definitely a team sport. What are some other aspects that made you want to jump from the single family investments? You talked about all the turnover, all the headaches, but what are some of the other things that you like about the multifamily space versus the single family space?
Yeah. So listen, I think the list goes on and on. Some of the things that come to mind, obviously, as we talk about in my past, having 27 rental properties in my past portfolio. Thank goodness I had 27, because as I said, there's highs and there's lows, and there's people coming and there's people going, but I could muster the low times because I had the others that were working for me. Not everybody is as fortunate to have 27 of those single family properties in their portfolio, right? So when we look at real estate in general, and we talk about single family in comparison to multifamily, there's something beautiful that you can get when you're in the multifamily space. Number one, it's the scalability, right? You can have multiple doors to decrease those liabilities. And one of my favorite is the depreciation that you get from purchasing multifamily. So I think that in and of itself, who doesn't love to decrease their taxes, right? Whether it's that same year or at time of exit when you sell the property, it's advantageous for an operator, and it's extremely advantageous for a passive investor, right? So both parties win. Other than that, selfishly, I will say, being a part of multifamily, let's compare it again to single family. When I was in the single family, I was wearing all the hats. I was finding the buyers, because I also had single family that I was doing turnkey for other individuals. I had to find the properties. I had to find my own money. I had to do all the work, right? Put the teams together. Oh my gosh. I have found freedom in a way that I never thought I would ever have, simply because in the multifamily space, as we know, there are different parts of the team that make up a team. There's the person that's finding the property. There's the person that's underwriting the property. There's the asset management. There's the person that's bringing the funds to the table. Let's just say I'm the chick that gets to talk to people. I'm the chick that gets to bring those relationships and those people and present an incredible opportunity to them. So why do I feel like I have freedom? Because I get to stay in the lane where I function most optimally. And I love it. I don't have to wear the hats doing the things that are my greatest weakness. I get to stay in the lane where it happens to be my greatest strength.
Yeah,
so
it's extremely powerful. And I always try to emphasize that to folks who may not be as familiar with, what a syndication, what we're talking about here actually is. So, pooling resources together, pooling money together, multiple investors to purchase a larger, more efficient asset. And the beautiful part of that is you get folks like yourself who are great at one specific aspect of the business. And then you have other partners who are great at other aspects of the business. And everybody can just niche down and focus and stay in their lane. And then even better, passive investors, folks who don't want any part of managing a real estate deal, get to participate in the upside. They get the cash flow, they get the profits from the sales. And as you mentioned, most importantly for a lot of people, the tax benefits. You get all of that without having to do any of the work. So getting into the multifamily space for a lot of people, and you kind of touched on it a little bit yourself, you thought it was for the billionaires, the ultra elite, the ultra, 0.1% of the world as far as wealth goes. What are some things that you had to do to get over those limiting beliefs that you may have had when you were transitioning to the multifamily space?
So I don't know, maybe I'm a bit of an anomaly. I tend to be a person that's just really positive. And I also have this confidence that I feel like I'm just an unstoppable person. I know that may sound like really like, oh, who is this chick? But the thing is, I feel like I've already done so much self-work in my years of just business that I feel like whatever, and I tell this to my kids every single day. They probably are sick of hearing it, but it's absolutely true. Whatever you want, you can have. You can have whatever you want. It just depends on how bad you truly want it. Are you willing to get up early? Are you willing to take action? Are you willing to push through the hard? Are you willing to take the hiccups that come along the way and find a way to hurdle over it or to hike that mountain and get over the other side? It just depends on how bad you want it. And so I'm of that nature of whatever we focus on, laser focus, where energy goes, where focus goes, energy flows, and we'll get there, right? And it's about staying persistent. It's about having grit. So all of these things are what an entrepreneur has to have in order to win and to overcome. But most people are not willing to do the work. They'll find the excuse.
Yeah, that's so true. So I know you're a humble person, but what do you think you've done differently than other folks to be successful in life and to get to where you are? I know you've got the confidence. What are some other things in daily practice that you're doing to get there?
So what am I doing daily to get to where? What do you think I have done in order to get there? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think truly I have this love for people that's unexplainable. I think that for me, it's really just a matter of finding out what it is that others need, what the desire, and how can I best help them. So I don't ever like to leave a conversation without asking, is there anything I could do to help you? Right. And so most people, like, I'm an anomaly, I feel like, when I ask that, because people look at me like in a deer in headlights, like, really? I don't ever have anybody ask me that. But I think it's truly a matter of helping people get what they want, being a connector. And if you make it about the other person, I think that you're always going to come out on top. It's just unfortunate sometimes in our space that people are so quick to just push. Would you like to get in my deal? Would you like to get in my deal? And it gets a little bit old. People want to know that you truly, truly care about their well-being and want for them to up level in every area of their life. I know it sounds like woohoo, waha, whatever, but it's true. It's true. I want to see other people win. It like helps me to feel good when I see others winning.
Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more with that. You touched on some things, with you believe you can do anything. I wonder if is that something you've always kind of had within you, or is that something that's developed over the course of your life? And, what are you doing to cultivate such a strong mindset? Not everybody has the same beliefs. Yeah. A lot of people doubt themselves. What can people do to build up a strong mindset like that?
Well, listen, I wouldn't say per se I was born with it, right? I definitely am intentional with my morning. And I think my mornings are something that is a big differentiator from most human beings. I get up. Would you like me to just share a little bit of
Let's do it. Let's get into the morning routine. Let's do it.
So for me, mine is I'm up at 5 a.m. Sometimes it's 4:45. I'm up at 5 a.m. I come into my office. The first thing I'll grab is my journal. I'll get out my journal. I write down my 5 things that I'm grateful for, my gratitude. As cliche as it sounds, it could be as simple as grateful for my house. I'm thankful for the home that I live in. I'm thankful for awesome kids, right? I'm thankful for having the grit. I'm thankful for the 200 unit I just closed on yesterday. Whatever it may be, simple. It doesn't have to be over the top. It just gets you in that routine of having a grateful heart, right? And then from there, I'll write down non-negotiables of 10 things that I want to get done that day. Could be simple, could be a little bit higher level. And then from there, I'm off to the gym. Head to the gym for an hour and I get my workout in. By doing those 3 simple things, first and foremost, it sets the trajectory of my whole entire day. I come home from the workout. I feel so good. My kids are now getting up for school. And what do I say to them? Hey, crew, what is it you're grateful for today? Or I'll say to my 6-year-old, hey, how are you feeling today? Oh, I'm feeling good. Ready? Go, son. Repeat after me. I am a champion. Right. And so just these little things that we do, or chants, or they see mama in action, right? They see what my day consists of. They know that if they come in my office, they're going to see my thankful sitting on my desk, wide open, so that they can actually see what mom's grateful for today. Because they truly care. They don't have to say that they care, but they care because I'll catch them in here, like just checking things out, right? So I think that wiring yourself and setting your day apart and being intentional on those things are the game changers to help you have a more successful day and conquer what it is that you set out to conquer.
That's great. The gratitude thing it's very interesting. I never thought. I've started doing that as well over the past year. I don't do it every day, but it's extremely helpful, and it puts things into perspective. If you can't be grateful for what you have now, you're never going to be happy. And I think part of that is comparing yourself to others. It's, that's always going to be a problem if you're comparing your success to somebody else's success. But what's really helped for me in the gratitude space is, like you said, just being thankful for what's around you and, announcing that to yourself, making it known. Because again, if you're not happy with your current situation, you're likely never going to be happy. You're always going to be reaching for that next. Well, there's nothing wrong with reaching, but you're not going to be satisfied. And, that's been a huge help for me, just writing down what I'm grateful for. So you mentioned you have the kids.
Real quick,
sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Tell you real quick, because I think this is super important for people. Like, look, all successful people are failing outside of work or whatever it is they're doing. Everybody is going to have a failure at some point in their life. And here's the best thing that keeps me going, even when I have a failure, because I have them all the time. Successful people are always going to have failure. It's about what you do when you have that failure. And so the big part to remember, when we have a failure, it's just but for a season. It's just temporary. We just have to work through it. It's not me. It's going to be like that for life. We just have to get through the crap. And we have to remember that, look, we can always take those failures and call it limes. How do we take the lemons and turn them into lemonade, right? It's the same thing with my partners. Imagine if I just got stuck. I had that epic fail right out of the gate. I can only tell you, I wanted to hide underneath the cabinet. I didn't want to come out. But what was that going to do for me? Not a whole lot. So it's literally about knowing that you're having a setback and you're going to get ready for a comeback, right? And that's exactly what's happened with the team. And thank God, because it makes me so grateful for the incredible team that I have. And I would not realize and appreciate the gratefulness and gratitude that comes with my team had I not been through the crap previously, right? So anyway, just wanted to share that.
No, that's great. And so you mentioned you have 5 kids, which, wow. So I have 3. I have a 5, 3, and 1-year-old. So I have a lot of respect for you, doing what you've managed to do with 5 kids. And, it's interesting for me. I've found that once I had kids, everything, like my mindset changed. And because I work a W-2 job, and right when I had my first kid, I started looking for other options that would allow me to have more control over my life, so I can be there for all of my kids, whatever they choose to do with their lives. And so I'm always very curious about successful folks like you and how they get their kids involved with what they're doing with business or investing. So what kind of stuff are you doing with your little ones, or what are their ages as well?
I love that you asked that. I've got a 6-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, and a 23-year-old. Wow. So I will tell you that 23-year-old, back when I started in the single family space in 2015, my daughter at the time was 16 years old. And we had been buying homes, and she was going to be 16 years old. She wanted to buy a new car. She had $5,000 in her bank account, and she wanted to put it down on a car. And I said, listen, we got an option here. You can either buy yourself this new car, or you can buy yourself a rental property. Mom will help fund the other portion. So do you want to take your $5,000 for the car, or your $5,000 towards a rental property and own a rental property? She's like, man, I really want that car. And I was like, well, look, go to bed, sleep on it. Let us know in the morning, but just know that rental property is going to yield you a monthly payout. And that car is going to be a liability and pay you nothing. As a matter of fact, you're going to have to pay gas, insurance, and all the other things that come with it. But look, you're a big girl, make a choice. Let us know tomorrow. So my daughter made the choice the next morning. She goes, okay, I want to buy the house. Thanks for helping me, but begrudgingly, right? Well, fast forward, she had this home. She did not touch the money. She sold it on her 21st birthday. She sold her property and got into an apartment with us. So now she's an apartment owner starting at the age of 21. To me, that is absolutely liberating that we're getting our kids and teaching the next generation how to duplicate their seed money, right? So that stuff gets me on fire. The other one, John, both my now 16 and 17-year-olds, they each own their own shipping container, Airbnb, tiny home on our 5 acres that we currently have here in the Hill Country. This is really cool what we do with them. They get 50% of the income that comes in off each of their Airbnbs. They have to monthly take care of the call or the messages from the guests that are staying there. They have to connect with the cleaner if there's any issues. They every month have to bring us an Excel spreadsheet of the gross revenues. And then they have to document what portion is theirs after subtracting the cleaning fees and management. And then we split it 50-50. So we get to talk about this spreadsheet, and it's their money. They're growing their empire of their 50%, John. 50% of that goes into the bank for seed money for the next investment they're going to have. The other 50% goes on their little credit card, and they buy their DoorDash, they buy their Amazon, they buy their extra clothes that they're wanting. And it's a great way to teach children how to stretch a buck and how to be mindful with what they're spending, and also to help them feel like an entrepreneur and walk out that spirit and that God gift that they've been given.
Yeah, I think it's so important to, at an early age, like you're doing, because I never had anything like that. I was, just typical head in the clouds in high school, just going through it and not really ever thinking about, owning a business or entrepreneurship or investing. And if you can get to them at that age, then, if they choose to go to college, then they're going to be thinking about everything from a different perspective, instead of like example, like me, I was just, I'm going to get my degree and then I'll figure it out. But if you have a purpose, you go with intention, then you can be a lot more successful. So one thing I wanted to discuss was networking. You do a great job with networking. Every event that I've been at with you, you're just bouncing around, talking to everybody, but not everybody is able to do that. What are some tips that you could offer to folks who are, maybe they're new to the space, they're wanting to get out and meet people? What kind of things do you talk to people about when you're going out to events and meeting new people?
Well, I think that, like, for me, it's just really easy, but for somebody that's not easy to, I think you have to find a commonality or an icebreaker to ignite the conversation. But if I were to give one helpful hint, everybody loves to hear something positive about themselves. Who does not, right? So the best way to do that is to give somebody a compliment, but out of the kindness of your heart that's sincere and not manipulative. Everybody has something great that you can compliment them about. It could be the pink shirt that they're wearing. It could be the beautiful smile they got, their crystal blue eyes. It could be their whatever. Man, you've got such great energy, or it's so good to see you. I've seen you at so many events and I've yet to have the time to, or a moment to connect with you. There's always something great you can deliver. And there's too many negative people in the world. And so if you come to an event or you're meeting people, who doesn't love to be greeted with a smile? A smile becomes so infectious. You become magnetic, because if you are intentional to watch the room and see how many smiles there are at any given point, it would probably blow your mind. Not enough. Sometimes you're looking at people and you're like, man, did you just put a lemon in your mouth? Like, just smile. It makes you that much more attractive. You could be the ugliest person in the room, but if you're smiling, dude, you already won in my book. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just smile, turn it on. Even if that's not you to smile, try it on for size. Your lips might start quivering after 5 minutes if you're not a smiler, but you get what I'm saying. People want to be greeted. People want to be acknowledged, right? Maybe there's somebody that's in the room that is not an energetic Erin by any stretch, and they kind of look like somebody that maybe doesn't have a whole lot of people around them, or they're by themselves, or maybe they look like they're really uncomfortable. How kind is it to go and just say hello and introduce yourself? Hey, I'm Erin. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Hi, I'm Brian. Awesome. Where'd you come from? Like, just talk and make somebody feel special and important. And I'm telling you, your bucket will be filled when you do that.
Yeah, totally. And just by the fact of you being there and staying and networking, you're going to meet people. You're going to meet potential partners. You're going to, you have those follow-up conversations. You learn so much. Full transparency. I used to be the guy that, when the networking portion of the conference would start, I was going to, book it to the bathroom and then go out and make the phone call and, or, do whatever, just avoided it. I'm an introvert and, that wasn't my cup of tea, but ultimately after doing it enough and realizing how valuable it is, honestly, like it still doesn't feel super comfortable for me, but just being there and having the conversations, you learn so much. Those are, arguably more important than the content that is being discussed at these conferences. So extremely important stuff.
Hey, one more tip I can give for other people that are like you, that are an introvert and they're not comfortable being there. There's something really cool that you can do. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert or you're not an introvert. This is a really, really good one. You do not have to be that person that goes and talks to all 200 people that are there. If you have a pretty good gut sense or an energy or whatever you want to call it, when you walk by someone or you've seen them on social media or whatever it may be, make it a point to target those 5 people. And instead of just staying surface with them, create some depth. There's power with depth and relationships that go sometimes much further than having a surface conversation with 200 people versus 10 people, right? So just another thought.
Totally. Get those solid, strong relationships instead of just handing your card out to 100 people. I love it. So I've got time for one more question, and it's a question I asked all of my guests. It's related to pursuing a life of freedom and control through entrepreneurship or investing. So quick background, I work at Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant on the central coast of California, and it's currently set to shut down in 2025. And my mission is to replace my income from W-2 with income from real estate investing. What would you offer to folks who are in my boat or just wanting to pursue a life of freedom and control through investing? What kind of advice would you give us?
Oh, such a good question. Well, I think first and foremost, I would find out if the individual is wanting or already an active investor on the GP side, taking down deals. If so, fantastic. But I'm sure that if they are, maybe they don't have any deals to put their own money in. I certainly would not be that person that just let your money sat in the bank account and not putting it to work. It's dead when it's sitting in your bank account. Don't need to go there, but with everything that's happening, inflation and all of this crazy, it's better to have your money at work, no doubt, especially when you're in our space and in John's space, doubling one's money every 5 years. There's no reason it should be on the sideline in your bank account. If you are looking to retire, there's no better, or leave a company, there's no better place than to put your money as a passive investor, regardless whether you're GP or a limited silent partner looking to invest passively. There's no better place to put your money and have it double in 5 years. Who doesn't want a 20% return? It's far better than being in the stock market and being at a 20% loss. So even if you took your money out of the stock market and put it into the apartment space, even if that apartment space failed and did half that, it's still a solid 10% return. So with that being said, I'm also an extremely creative individual, and I would find a way to leverage other people's money if I was out of my money. So if I had $500,000 at play and it was in a passive position, I would then go on to ask Uncle Bob if he would like to be a part of a great opportunity to make 7% on his money. And then I would take that money and I would go put it in an apartment where I know I can get 20% and do the math. There's arbitrage. 20 minus 7 equals 13%. And there you have it, making 13% with somebody else's money. And then hold on, rinse and repeat and do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. Because guess what? There are people with their money sitting in the bank and they're super happy with earning that less than 1%. So what if you could share the good news and show them another way, right? And if they know you, like you, and trust you, Aunt Sue and Uncle Bob will probably give you the money.
Absolutely. I love it. So, Erin, if people wanted to connect with you and learn more about Quattro or what you're doing, where should they go?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for the ask. www.thequattroway, TheQuattroway.com. You can actually click a link there and schedule a call. Happy to get on a 15-minute strategy call. We call them game-changing calls. Or you can find me on social media on all 3 platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. And here's the thing. I love to give back. I love to help people win at the game of life. Wherever you are, whatever situation, there's always a way to up level. You just have to be willing to take action and pivot a wee bit to put yourself on that right trajectory to have unlimited success.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for your time today. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Erin Hudson, thanks so much.
I know.
Thank you for listening to Freedom Investor Radio. If you like what you heard, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks again for listening.